Jumping into the last of the OGs, which is the 5s. The speckled is a little different. That's actually on this one. But overall, this was the first time they introduced this. Now, again, before I actually pull these out, if you guys thought the OG 6s were worse, like terrible crumbling, it's just gonna get worse from here until I get to the OG ones. I'll tell you that right now. These 5s here, and when I pull these OG 5s out, this is just what my favorite OG 5s is. I think a lot of people are gonna disagree with me, but again, this is, you know, my list of what I like. Man, this is probably one of the worst crumbling midsole Jordans I've had. The OG 5s, the fire reds with the silver 3M tongue. I know, you guys are probably saying, ooh, you didn't pick the grapes. Ooh, we didn't pick the metallics. Ooh, we didn't pick the number 23 on the side fire red 5s. And this is my favorite colorway of all the 5s next to the grapes. Okay, yeah, the grapes, yeah. That would have been chosen if I didn't pick this. When I meant to say that this is probably worse than the 6s, if I were to take out the plastic saran wrap that's wrapped around here, I was taking pictures earlier of the shoes, but if I were to take off the plastic here, this thing is literally just gonna fall off. First time I saw these were probably like, yo, those are super sick. That black with the red hit on the midsole and that clear netting that was first introduced on a Jordan, and this upper here, super sick with that 3M reflective tongue. Man, it's just something about this colorway. I've noticed that too, that like all of the shoes were like white would hit a red and black. I don't know, this was probably one of my favorite colorways. I mean, I do have the retros from the 99 and so forth, but something about the OGs that I've always liked, and you know, the thrill of hunting it down. When I did receive this one, this was actually the last I really needed. I was trying to find a pair, but homie sold me for these for, I forgot how much, but he sold me for a really good price. I'm gonna just pull some back here so you guys could really see an up close look. Now, Jordan Matt did decide to like change up the leather. I believe so. I'm not too sure. It might have been the same as the OG4s, but obviously over time it does crack on the back portion here. Here's that clear netting, and you know, it's not as bad as I thought it would be. And that trash midsole that's crumbling really bad. Here's how that midsole would look like. There's your air unit right here, and that big red stitch Nike Air on the back. Now on the other side, obviously you have some of the midsole parts coming off, but I just wanted you guys to see that. And as far as that sole goes, man, I don't really need to say much, but man, them things is piss golden caca brown yellow. Some midsole that's just falling off of my jacket here. Out of all the 5s next to the grapes, fire red 5s with the silver reflective tongue, it's my favorite. Alright y'all, jumping into the last of the 4 is the OG 4s. Came in this super sick box. It still did introduce that big Jumpman and that flight and that speckled box that you guys obviously see. The box does have like a top lid that you guys obviously can just pull out just like this. And for those probably wondering like, yo Rolo, when are you gonna pull out some Jordans that have been soul swap and not that crumbled crappy trash OG Jordan and stuff like that? Well, out of all the 4s, this is by far my favorite colorway out of all the OG colorway 4s. White cement 4s. These have been soul swapped. This was pretty much the last pair of OG 4s I needed to complete the set of the OG 4s. Now, the uppers have been repainted. There are some imperfections where the previous owner or the person that did restore them did paint them over, but I did appreciate the fact that he still kept it to as much as it should be. If you guys are wondering why there's so much speckled all over the midsole, you guys see where the Nike Air is on the back tab? On the back part, this is actually how the OGs did. They put a lot more speckled onto it. Not so much on the tab parts on the side, but it was mainly on this back tab that you guys see here. And I'll jump right into that as a close-up. I've always liked that Jumpman on the tongue with that flight hit here. Now with all the OG pairs, if you do find the back tab, the plastic portion on the back, like bent like that, that's pretty normal. If you do find a pair that actually has a straight one up like this, that's actually a good indication. And this is the Nike Air that's actually on the back. As you guys can see, so much more speckled is done on this shoe. And on the retros, it was a lot more less. It is a little bit darker, but again, it is a lot of speckle that they did have on these 4s. They did keep that off cream white on the midsole that I do appreciate, and a difference between this tab and the midsole as well. Out of all the 4s, this is my favorite, the white cement 4s. Jumping into the last 3, we have the OG 3s. This shoe specifically to me, if you guys have seen my previous videos where I talked about it, this shoe to me is probably one of the most sentimental shoes I've had. This is the shoe that I've been offered ridiculous amounts of money. This is the shoe that took me nearly 10 years or exactly 10 years to get in my size, the condition, the price that I did get it for. The story of how I got this pair, because a lot of people always ask me, what's one shoe that took you the longest, whether it was price, condition, or whatever OG I was trying to get, it would be these OG3s here. And these OG3s are my all-time favorite colorway of all the threes. And hopefully you guys can agree with me when I pull them out. Believe it or not, I got this shoe off Craigslist. It was on a rainy day. I hit up the dude. At the time, I was like, I don't know, man. Maybe I should go meet up the dude right now because someone could just swoop up the pair and I would be taking another L. But we met up. And I saw them with the box and everything, and I was surprised that I actually got them, and it was in my size, a 9.5. I'm not gonna say how much I paid for them, but just know that I got them for a really good deal, and it did take me 10 years to get this shoe. And a lot of people want this, but this is probably one shoe I don't think I'll ever get rid of, even though I do have another pair. The other pair that I did have is trash, it's beat. I just wanted to have like an OG3. 2 months later, this pair. This is the pair that I got. It's very interesting how a lot of the OG Nikes and Jordans that I did have are a lot more longer and more skinnier. Very similar to the Force box, as you guys can see here. But if you compare it to like OG 5, 6, or 7 and so forth, that's the two of them comparing the sizes. Besides the shape of the box and stuff, the elephant print that you guys can actually see, it does have a sale price of $99. These are none other than my holy grails, OG 1988 black cement 3s. I've been offered ridiculous amounts of money that, you know, I wouldn't mind taking, but because of how long it took me to get it and what this shoe stands for, I've always kindly denied them. Now, the one difference that you guys can actually see on the OG pairs is a lot more smaller. Now, the elephant print throughout the shoe actually is a different elephant print that you guys see. Here's just a close-up look of how the midsole looks like, crumbled and everything. You know, 5 years ago, this was never like this. It was actually more darker and black, and more of the midsole was attached. Another look at the elephant print. One thing on the 3s, especially on the 94 and the 2001 pair, is it does have this sticky substance on it. It's finally starting to crack, what you guys could see here. Is the first time I'm actually seeing it. But this is just how the back tab looks like. Now, if we're talking about the padding that's actually on the collar itself, it's really thin. It's not like the 2001 pair or the 94 where it has a lot more padding. The tongue also itself is actually a lot more thinner, but it does have this fat red Jumpman. As far as the leather quality goes, it's so much softer and so much better than any other Jordans I've actually felt. In terms of also the cut that's actually on the shoe is a little bit more thin, but it's more defined to really represent what an actual 3 is. Now, if I were to compare this leather and what it feels like, I would probably say this leather feels exactly similar to the shattered backboard ones, the 2016 bread ones, or the actual band one that actually has the X on the back. But that's exactly how this leather feels like if you were to touch them ever in person on an OG pair of OG3s. Although this shoe did take me that long to get, it's always that thrill of the hunt that I really appreciated. I was very patient enough to get this shoe, and I knew that one day I'll eventually get this pair. And although I'm still looking for the fire reds, the true blues, and the white cement 3s, those all will be something special too when I actually do complete it. In terms of getting all the OGs, OG 1 through 4 are always one of the toughest things to find, especially when it does come in the box or if it's your size. As far as having, you know, my OG Jordans all restored, I do want to keep them just like this for right now, so when I actually do complete OG 1 through 14, because I know one day I actually am, I want to take it just how it is and then finally start investing in restoring actually the OG Jordans. But of all the OG Jordan 3 colorways, the black cement 3s is my all-time favorite. Jumping to the second of the last, this is the Wings box from the OG2s from 1987. Very known for that sticker stamp where it says made in Italy. The sticker price where it says $99. Again, these are my size and size 9. And just a close-up look of the box on the top lid part. This was another pair of shoes that was the last OG Jordan I need, because it always went from OG 1, 3, and up. I never actually had a pair of OG 2s. Within the last few years, I was able to obtain 3 out of 4. The last one I'm actually missing is actually the lows that's actually in this box. This is the highs. This shoe is crumbling like hell. I'll tell you guys that right now. This is the last pair that I'm gonna pull out that's crumbling compared to the 3 the 5, the 6. This one is just as bad. But this is none other than the white and red OG2s. This colorway actually did retro when they did release the Countdown package pair. Before actually filming this video, I was taking pictures of all the Jordans. That's actually on the thumbnail that you guys see. And when pulling this one out, the whole sole just fell down. And obviously this whole midsole was still intact, but it was just standing there. I was like, oh. And this was one OG Jordan that I was really missing with the box. I was like, man, I really want some OG2s with the box. Whenever they actually popped up on eBay, I would always take an L. I always got outbidded or sniped. And I was like, man, maybe it's just not meant to be right now. When the time finally showed up, I was fortunate enough to actually get these off a person off IG. We made a deal, and that's how I got these. I'm not gonna lie to you guys and say it was a pretty good price, because it wasn't. I paid a pretty penny for this OG2. If you were to ask me what OGs are really tough to get, it would be the 2s and the 3s. Just like any of those OG 1 through 4, the 2s and 3s are very difficult to come by with the size, if you're going for your size, or just the box alone. But I was fortunate enough to get a pair in my size with the box. I'm gonna take off this plastic saran wrap off it to give you guys some up close look. And this is just an up close of how the midsole looks like throughout the whole shoe. I mean, obviously you see some parts that are missing. One thing people always ask me is, how is the quality? How does that shoe feel? Because the shoe was actually made in Italy. Now this part here feels really interesting. It kind of has like a somewhat sticky substance on it, but this material feels very, very different than any other Jordan I felt. And if we're talking about this leather material here, a really good fat padding on the ankle support, and the leather here feels different. It's something that they used on this shoe that's a lot different than many other Jordans that I felt. One part where you can tell it's an OG is actually this back part of the tongue. It says it right there, made in Italy. Again, super fat padding on the collar area. And on the sole part, there actually is this number here which indicates the size as well. And what I was referring to with the sole and the midsole really coming off and crumbling really bad, let me take off this sole and show you exactly what I mean. So there you guys go. This is your sole part and the midsole part. Now the whole midsole is still intact. If I were to take off this part of the midsole, it's not crumbling as bad that you guys seen with all the other Jordans I pulled out with crumbling midsole. And right here is where it actually says size 9 as well. But this is what I meant by like, this thing is completely done. Another reason why I wouldn't mind having this shoe's sole swap or restored in the proper way. Put that back and it just fits back just like this. And there you go. Out of all the OG2 colorways, this is my favorite. But if I couldn't pick this one, or if I didn't have this one, would be the Chicago's in this high set here. Alright guys, and the last part of the video is the OG ones. One that a lot of people have been waiting for. Before I pull out the OG ones, I just want you guys to see the OG box. This is an original box from 1985. That big fat Nike logo with the swoosh. Now this box did have the tags, but it has been taken and removed off from either the previous owner or the previous owner. You can tell that there was actually a sell sticker price that was here, but otherwise than that, this is an original box from 1985 for the OG ones. Before I pull out these shoes, this is actually very, very simple for me in terms of picking which OG ones I did want. I could have easily pulled out, you know, more of the rare of the metallic color of the series. I could have pulled out a more underrated color, but this shoe here, this one, no matter how many times they retro, I'm gonna always get that shoe, just like the Black Cement 3s as my favorite. This shoe specifically is my all-time favorite of all the OG colorway ones. You guys ready? Ooh, man. Every single time I look at this colorway, by far one of the best colorways ever. Chicago ones. Yep, Chicago ones. Chicago ones. If you guys thought it was a black or red because I wear those all the time, those are probably next to it. Or it's like the Royals. You know, those are all good colorways. But my all-time favorite is the Chicago ones. The first time I saw this colorway, I was instantly hooked. It's such a great color combo. I don't know why, but it always have to deal with a certain white and red color combo with a hit of black. And I've noticed that with all the other Jordans that I've picked out. But the ones in general, it's such an iconic shoe. I think that's another reason why I love this shoe next to the Nike Dunks, because they're very similar. I got this pair at a Dunk Exchange here in San Francisco for a very good price. Now, there's not much that I need to say about this shoe. It's been retroed so many times. A lot of people say that the market is such saturated with ones, but it never defeats the purpose of always hunting down one and the thrill of hunting down one, the shape, quality, color, everything that has to do with an OG one. For those who've ever owned a pair of OG one or an older retro, knows exactly what I'm talking about, specifically with the OG ones. Whether it's the cut, the color, the way they fit, everything about this OG Jordan 1 is such an iconic shoe. These 85 breadband ones are my all-time beaters. I wear these all the time. You guys can see that heel drag on the sole. And no matter how many times I've worn this in the rain, I beat the hell out of these, it still is built like a tank. And you know, and ones in general just go with whatever. So if I couldn't pick these Chicago ones as my favorite colorway, it'd probably be the bread ones. And they look dope when they're just beat too. Now with any OG one, obviously, you know, you have that paint chipping, cracking that's actually on the shoe itself, but that's always a given since it's very thin compared to the leather that they actually had on the uppers of the shoe. And that iconic Air Jordan logo, even if there's scuffs on the shoe, this leather is just something else. These are my size 9. This shoe has a factory of TY1, which is another factory that the shoe was made. There's different factories, but this is a TY1. Some pairs do have that crunchy collar that you want to look out for, that you guys can hear here. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but some pairs do have that crunchy collar, and that's pretty normal. This is just one section where it's crunchy, but overall that upper on the collar isn't as cracking or crunchy, and that's a really good indicating sign that it's a good pair. Whether you put black laces that I would prefer to have it on, or white laces that I've even seen red laces on them, it's still an iconic shoe. Don't get me wrong, I like all the colors of the OG ones, but by far this is my all-time favorite, all the OG color ones, the Chicagos. Now this video is dedicated to all the people that's interested in OG Jordans, but more importantly, this video is dedicated to Michael Jordan and his birthday. Last year I pulled out 53 original Air Jordans, and man, I'll just tell you this, that was a hassle bringing it out, laying it out, and showing you guys, and trying to explain every single pair of Jordans. So for this year, I decided to do OG Jordan 1 through 4 and just talk about, you know, the pros and cons of each Jordan, what I like and don't like. Hopefully it gave you some knowledge about the shoes for those that's trying to get some OG Jordans in general, you know. Some of you guys may agree, some of you guys may disagree with the color choices that I pick on that shoe, but hey, that's just the OG Jordan colorways that I like for those specific models. My idol is Michael Jordan. I would really love to meet him one day. I've always liked to throw on the hunt, finding OG Jordans in my size, and if it does come in the box, that would be great. A lot of people always ask me what other Jordans I'm missing, and I'm gonna put that down below in the description. I am missing less than 20 pairs to complete OG Jordan 1 through 14, mainly which the 14s I haven't really focused on because I've always focused on OG 1 through 5. That was one of my more of my main goals because those are actually a little harder to get. When you get to OG Jordan 5 and up, well, like 6 and up, it's a lot easier to find, especially on eBay. But when you get to the OG 1 through 4, just expect to pay a lot more for those. If it was so easy to finding most of these OG Jordans, it wouldn't be as fun. Time and patience is what you really need for just finding them. And, you know, luck. Again, happy birthday to Michael Jordan. Again, he's my idol. I've never met him. Maybe one day I'll meet him. Who knows? Time will tell, but that's one of my idols and I would really like to meet him one day. So I hope you guys enjoyed some of my stories of sharing with you guys, as well as pulling OG Jordans 1 through 14. If you guys haven't yet, please hit that thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. I'm always putting out videos on a daily basis. Let me know what you guys think down below. What's your favorite OG 1 through 14? If you guys want to put that in the comment section, like 1 through 14, actually like 1 through 14, that would be really cool. I would like to read your comments and see what you guys would really pick out in terms of the colorways, that is. And if you guys want to go like 15 through like 30 or 23 or something like that, that's cool too. You guys can do that as well. Again, I read all the comments. I appreciate anybody who watches my videos and spends their time, just any time on my videos, just watching and commenting down below. I always really appreciate that. People taking their time and just watching my video. Again, happy birthday to Michael Jordan. And thank you guys as the viewers for watching my videos. And as always, guys, it's going to be good. Man, you got all this crumbled midsole, and I gotta clean this up now. I need John Andrew to restore my shoes. Damn.